Good afternoon, evening, everyone. How are you? Welcome to episode 20 of Lighten, Up-Zen Life. Hi, Val. Hi, Denise. So glad to see you. Nancy, my co-host, is here with me. Everybody say hi to Nancy. Nancy, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So tonight, our subject is on the astral plane. And I look forward to Nancy starting us off.
Oh, no. You do, huh?
I do. I've been waiting for it all day.
Okay. So, are you going to tell them what we're going to speak about?
Oh, yeah, the astral plane.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come back with you first. Why do you think the astral plane is a good subject?
Ooh, that's a good point. So I think it is, when we were creating this subject, we had noticed the things that brought us from 3D into lower fourth. And I had made this example of the other night where we had gone into a location, and we had met somebody, and my psychic senses were tingling, and I winded up saying, hey, I have a couple messages for you. And then the night continued and said, hey, I have a couple. And we met 3 people within an hour that we made these connections to. And when I was telling Nancy the story, that we had referenced how that's like, well, yes, we're in lower fourth now. And it's important because, one, the world is changing.
Wait a minute, before you continue, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're not in just lower fourth dimension.
Okay.
You don't want to be in lower fourth dimension because that's where the negativity is.
I agree with you, but
okay.
Maybe it's my misconception. So I thought that Earth just moved from 3D into lower fourth.
No, not really. No.
Okay, can you please clarify that?
Well, why don't you go ahead with your story and then I'll clarify it.
Sure. Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, other than I didn't want that to be
the wrong information
coming from my angle anyway.
Makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
So what the importance of it is that we are in a new time, and we keep having these conversations about we're in a new time, we're in a new era, we're in the Aquarius age, but with new times come new experiences. So to move from physical into astral gives us new experiences with new energies, and I think it's important to decipher the difference between them. That's my take on it.
Okay. One of the things that happened for you when you had all this connection kind of thing, and people were feeling as one rather than separated, and it helped some of the people to come to a higher, more comfortable level, more calm. If I remember your story right, that's pretty much the gist of it. But I think at the time what I said is on the higher astral plane, that's normal.
Right.
It's normal. That's what's so neat about this whole thing, and this is what prompted me to think that maybe this would be a good subject. Even though people are not there, I'm sure all the people you know are pretty well, we're all familiar with the astral plane. We have astral plane everywhere inside of us and so on. So anyway, to just clarify a few things. So do you have any questions you want me to start with?
Well, my now most prominent question that I feel is, can you explain how we've moved? Because up until this moment, I felt that we, as a planet going through the photon belt, we have shifted from third into lower fourth. I understand that there's multiple dimensions going on simultaneously, but as a planet, I thought we had gone from one to the other. So that's my most curious point right now.
In a way, I do believe in many ways that is what I feel too. But the astral plane is something that the astral plane is who we are. The astral plane is the physical body, or the physical part of us, the physical thoughts and so forth. did not start here. And this is what's so interesting. And I'll get back to going back to what you just said. But before I even do that, I mean, many of us, we were taught this, and the negative energies made sure that we believed this and that did everything it could to compound the misunderstanding of the astral plane. That we have a feeling that everything, like let's say vitamins, were somehow designed and made here, that medication somehow began here on Earth. Someone invented it. We have the misunderstanding that cars and airplanes and animals and insects and people and trees and flowers and all the variations and so on somehow were made here on Earth. First. But that's not the case.
Ooh, okay.
That's not it. The astral plane, it's not a foreign thing to us, because anyone who sleeps and dreams, or anyone who sleeps, goes into the astral plane automatically.
Right.
We started in the astral plane. We were in birth. We started before birth is astral plane. And then we were born, and then we went into the third dimension of this, the physical form place. And then we went, when we pass or transmute ourselves into leaving here, we go back to the astral plane.
Yeah.
So the astral plane is not new. The astral plane is misunderstood.
That is true. That's true.
It's not new to anyone, because we all came from it. And now what happened when we came into the physical body and the physical thought, the third dimension and so on, we automatically accepted separation. We automatically accepted fear. We automatically accepted the box, the matrix and the box that kept us. And we automatically accepted to learn, to understand, and to go through all kinds of stuff. And most of it was a lot of it was uncomfortable. It was, it was sacrificing. It was a lot of negative stuff. Right. A lot of people went through a lot of negative stuff, and illness is a good example of that. Poverty is another good example. I mean, I could go down the list, which I don't really want to do right this minute. But anyway, I don't think I need to, because I think everyone knows enough. People being rejected, not being loved, having abuse, and so on. So when we came from the astral plane, we were in a different space. We weren't in that space.
Right.
So why in the world would we come in and agree to come in and go through the portal to birth, and then leave our astral plane, which is calm, peace, wonderful, beautiful, unlike most heaven on earth and different layers of heaven on earth and God and source and all this stuff? Why would we even think about coming into this negative space? Well, I think the masters came in so that they could help the human race at this point in time, and we could bring light to the planet, understanding, and so on. Because because most of the people now that have M's on their hand, or masters, they understand that the real them is not this negativity.
Right.
The real them is not the illness. The real them, that this is a matrix, it's a computer program, and it's got an agenda of negativity, and the whole purpose of it was the sorrow. Nobody wants sorrow, but sorrow taught us and teaches us. Unfortunately, sadness teaches us what we don't want. And then we don't belong here. We belong, I'm not saying physically we don't belong here, but we don't belong in the misery. That somehow we're to escape that and come back to something more comfortable, something that's calm, something that's fun, something that's enjoyable, so a new life. And what happened in the shift was, this is the main objective now, is to break out of that box of matrix, to come out of the separation, come into unity of God and the higher levels, and come into a higher level and have more control over what we want to experience, our true desire, what we choose to have fun, and we choose to have love in our life, and true love and not false love. We're here to now to enjoy and find out what the Creator is, what heaven is, what calmness is, what peace is. You know, people want world peace before they even have peace themselves, which is sort of not going to happen that way.
Right.
So, but one of the things that's really interesting is even in our meditations or when we pray, which I believe in the power of prayer very much, but even in those aspects of prayer and manifesting and trying to manifest, a lot of people are having a difficult time seeing the situation before they get it. In other words, a lot of times, like with healing, people believe in the healing and the source of the problem stronger than they believe in what the healing can be.
Understood.
So our thoughts, you know, the astral plane has to do with thinking, just like everything of God had to do with thought, and our call it, you know, spirit, call it the Creator, call it any, you know, wisdom, anything anybody wants to align with that. But the point is that everything, which is what people don't quite get, I think, and now I think we're going to really find out that this is true. The most important part to understand is everything started in the astral plane. All the trees started first in the astral plane. The flowers started first in the astral plane. The birds and all their beautiful variations started in the astral plane. Our feelings started in the astral plane. We started in the astral plane. Everything started first in birth in the astral plane.
I agree.
And it's not the other way around. One reason why so many people are having difficulty manifesting what they want, because they're trying to do it from here in the third dimension. That is the false dimension. It's a illusion. They're trying to manifest. They actually think that everything manifested here first,
right.
And they're taught that. I mean, we're taught that, you know, God came and made this. And, well, if God came, it came from the, you know, the higher than the astral plane, because the astral plane is not the last station on the train. But it's an important one. It's heaven on earth. And so people have this idea that if, you know, when they want to manifest what they want, that somehow it's got to happen. If it happens here first, I'll believe it and I'll have faith and trust. I want it to happen here, so therefore it's got to happen here. And if it doesn't happen here, you know, it's never going to happen. I'm not going to get what I want, and so on, which is totally the opposite. So what's happened is to help the human race, because we're going through a photon belt, I believe that to help the human race, what we're doing now is we're seeing portals, we're seeing shifts, we're seeing the earth tilt, we're having a lot of energy come in, and we're having a lot of light actually come in. I think you're going to see a lot of things that were in the astral plane that people denied, like maybe UFOs, maybe different races, maybe different ideas, maybe different opportunities, maybe people healing faster, maybe their prayers working faster and easier, and so on. And what it takes is to understand that it is already in the astral plane. And, you know, we hear this and people are teaching this beautifully. There are a lot of people that are really trying to get this idea across and teach this and be part of this. But it was already there to begin with, because everything was already there to begin with. This is not new. When we dream, and people have prolific dreams, a lot of people do. When we dream, we're in the astral plane. When we go to sleep, we're in the astral plane. It's not new. We go to the astral plane every time we sleep. Now, why would I get nightmares? If I got nightmares, why would that happen? Because the lower astral plane is more negative, and it's the chatter, and it's the negative entities and so on in the lower astral plane. And their job is to teach us we don't want that. to teach us that's not who we are, to teach us that we are not part of that, to teach us that that's something foreign and it's not real. And that takes a lot of work, because most people think their thoughts are real when they're negative. Well, they're not. The chatter is not who they are, who we are.
Exactly that, the Maya. Nancy, I have a couple questions, some from me and some from others. Okay, let's start here. All right. One of the questions is on astral traveling. If you could explain, what is how does the astral plane differ from the quantum field? And
it doesn't have gravity.
The astral field does not have gravity?
It doesn't have gravity. It doesn't have limitations.
Okay.
It doesn't have it. I want to take one by one if you've got more questions, but let me take one by one so I don't forget.
Sure. Okay.
What you said. So anyway, the astral traveling is when someone leaves their physical body and they travel, and they have a cord and they travel, and they are in the astral plane. Okay, and they see different things, and they can be in different levels of the astral plane, but many times it's not always the top level, but it can be. But they see things around them. They see buildings. They see people. They can go to someone's house and tell them they had this decoration and that situation and so on. And they can do, in the astral traveling, can be all kinds of different variations and different things. It can be a little dangerous in the sense that I know someone who, when they came back, they got into the wrong body, and then had to recognize that and then work their way out. So I mean, it's not. But if people are going to do astral traveling, which I think we do astral traveling all the time, we do it when we sleep. All the time. When we meditate, we can astral travel. I mean, astral traveling is something that's not going to be foreign to people. But being smart about it, and being the same way, if you walk into a building and it has negative energy, you want to say, I'm fine. I'm going up to a higher level where it's not going to affect me. And it's the same thing with astral travel or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But astral travel is going to be more and more common. It's very common now. A lot more people are astral traveling and have continued to have astral travel. And like I said, we do it all the time. One of the things that I did to not have nightmares, because who wants those, right? Mm-hmm. Or, negative feelings when I'm astral traveling. I don't want to wake up in the morning and feel drained because I got hit that night, when I was sleeping. Or I personally don't astral travel because my guidance told me not to. Not because there's anything wrong with it. It told me, for what's best for me, not to do it. It would be too dangerous for me. Now, I don't know if that's true anymore. It may not be, since we're going in the astral traveling anyway. And we do astral travel. But one of the things that I learned to do is I think I've mentioned this before, I commanded that I'd be tethered to my high self. And my high self, wherever they didn't want to go, I'm not going. Right. Whatever they aren't going to accept, they're going to filter for me. They're not anything I'm going, nothing can come in me that's not okay first by my high self. So there's ways to do that. I mean, there's books and there's all kinds of information. I know that YouTube's got a bunch of things on, I'm sure, on astral travel. There's people that teach it and so on. But like I said, the difference between what we do when we're dreaming and sleeping and the astral traveling you're asking about is it's a conscious decision for that person to astral travel a lot of times. If they're if they're in surgery, they have astral travel. They remember their life. They remember that they're in surgery. They remember they go through a tunnel, or they have different after death, near-death experiences and so on. That's astral traveling. There's so many different ways that people leave their body now and have memories and have experiences and so on, and then come back into the body. Or they leave their body because they pass on. So astral traveling is, if it's done on purpose, then people choose to follow a regimen. Usually it's some kind of routine or way that they've learned to do it, or they do it. Some people just do it automatically. They just leave their body. They just have, if they're meditating, all of a sudden they've left their body. When we meditate, we're in the astral plane. If we are truly meditating, we are in, that's why it's so beneficial, because we move from the physical containment of the body of separation. We go into meditation. We automatically, if we are able to calm ourselves and move into that, then we go into a source of astral energy and vibration. So as I think more and more people are going to do, the astral travel. We do it all the time anyway. What happened was when we came in, now it's changing because of the shifts that are happening, because of all the energy that's coming in, because of the world passing through the photon belt and moving into a higher level. When we came into the physical body, as soon as we came in, most people forgot all their memories. Their memory of being on the other side and in the astral plane isn't something that they didn't remember. Even now, people are, through hypnosis in different ways, people are remembering, or they go into a city and they say, I've been here before, or they'll meet someone and they'll sit there and think, we, just like what your experience was, you have people that you think are strangers that aren't strangers at all.
Not at all.
And so on, the astral plane has always been the number one and first. That's who we are. That's what we are. That's the real us. So when I used to say, I'm asking for the real person, the real self to come in, either to myself or someone else that I'm dealing with, please bring the real selves in together. I'm asking for whatever the truth of the astral plane is, that becomes the mode that we're dealing with. Why? Because it's a solution. Why? Because it's heavenly. Why? Because it's unlimited. Why? Because I know that the astral plane is really important. And I know that the astral plane is where I came from. I know it's my home. I know it's, I don't see Earth. I see Earth being my home in a school kind of way. But I know I didn't come from here. And I know that the flowers didn't come from here. I know that I had bumblebee, I had hornets in my pool that sort of went on my rafts and became friends. I mean, there's no division when you're on the astral plane and you live in this lifetime on Earth in the astral plane, and when you choose to live in that astral plane, everything is unity. It's amazing what happens when you have that astral plane in your being. There's a middle astral plane, there's a lower astral plane, there's a middle one, and there's a higher one. But the higher one is just as susceptible as the lower one. It's right there, right beside the lower ones.
You taught all that, and now between the who's watching and me, we have 15 questions. We started off with 2. Okay, so I'm gonna let Val's goes first, and she said, "Is astral traveling remote viewing or like remote viewing?"
Yes. Remote viewing is very interesting. I did get into remote viewing some. Yes, it's very similar. Remote viewing is that you leave your thoughts and your belief systems go to looking into a situation. It could be a place, it could be a country, it could be you have an agenda. And I know I was interviewed once by the military aspects because they use remote viewing a lot of different organizations like that, or maybe even other organizations too. They use remote viewing, and people are doing more and more remote viewing. That's astral travel too.
Okay.
Yes, I would say yes.
There's actually
and they actually have people practice it. where you write down and you describe the place or the situation on some place you've never been or some place, and then they already know the places, you know, and they'll track the person, how accurate they are in their view. You leave the body, you overview it, and you a lot of times you'll take, I think there's a lot of the remote viewing. I'm glad she brought this up because it's a big subject too. And but a lot of remote viewing is being done, and I think that's, you could call it spying, you can call it investigating, you can call it anything you want, you know, depending on what the motive is. But yes, I would say that's the same thing, or it's similar. I mean, it's just a different reason to do it. That's all.
Okay, so what is the difference between astral traveling and remote viewing?
Well, one is usually you have when you do remote viewing, if you're really doing remote viewing, you have an agenda. In other words, you're trying to scope out something. You're trying to see something, scope out something. Let's say you wanted to go on a vacation and you weren't going to make it to Hawaii. So you remote view and you go to Hawaii and you look at the different, you know, restaurants and different things, and you it doesn't have to be, you know, sinister or anything. It can be just like travel. I don't know that there's a lot of difference, except there's usually a motive. With remote viewing, you have an agenda. There's something you want to do. There's something that you're aiming to look at or understand or experience. So you remote view. I had someone do that to me in my office when I was in Florida. This man said, I asked her travel, and I believed him. I mean, he said, I asked her travel. He said, I'm going to prove it to you. So he actually called me and described everything that was in my house.
Oh, wow.
You know, which I didn't, I mean, he didn't have to do that because I already believed him, but it was, you know, it was just another example. But he had an agenda. He wanted to scope out my house. You know, it's a little eerie of somebody, you know, trespassing too, but he didn't trespass. I didn't look at it that way. But he had an agenda. He wanted to, this was way back years ago. So, I mean, people are now talking about it. It's happening more and more. But when he was telling me, it wasn't quite as it was, people were doing it a lot, but they didn't talk about it.
Got it. Yeah, there's we had the pleasure of doing an interview on Angela Ford, and Angela Ford actually worked for the U.S. military in the remote viewing department, and she was talking to us about how they used to spy on Russia, you know, the Soviet, when we were back and forth in the Cold War.
And Russia used to do the same thing, and other countries do the same thing. And I had, when I spoke before a bunch of companies who did the, you know, military things, and they questioned me. You know, they have a whole group of people who are insightful, you know, have sight or can do remote healing, and they have them look at things.
Yeah, it was really cool. She was like, they saw that through the remote viewing department of the military, they were able to see a submarine that they didn't know about yet and draw it out.
Yeah, and the astral plane, the people who travel through the astral plane can do good things too. But a lot of times there are people that when they get sick, they leave their body and they astral travel. They, you know, not everybody astral travels just because I want to go traveling. Some people sort of do it by, it's not accidental because it's right there and everybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they may not have intended to leave their body, but once they found out they can, and once you do the astral traveling, you find out that it can be very enlightening. You know, it can be a lot of really interesting things that can take place. You just have to be a little bit careful these days and make sure that you're not visiting in that lower lower astral plane. You want to make sure you're not going to I mean, that's my preference. I don't need any more trouble. I've got enough problems.
I know. I was thinking about that.
Looking for trouble with the astro, fight the negative beings, you know, on the other side. Now, shaman, people don't get upset with my words about shamanism here being something bad. But the shaman people are often astro travelers.
Right.
And the shaman is someone who uses, the different levels, like the astral plane, or the negative, maybe, or whatever. That would be black magic kind of thing. And I'm not saying that shaman, but what I am saying is there's ways. There's so many different areas in the astral plane. There's so many different things that people use it, and it's not a new thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, I have multiple questions because Ash does channeling, and all of us, that are partaking have psychic ability. So, how does the astral plane relate to channeling and to psychic ability? When I receive a message, is it coming from the astral plane, or
yes?
Yes.
I hope it is.
Okay.
And not from your thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, remember I stopped you a couple times, because we were joking around about, our mind wants to get involved in everything and do this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I worked at the Psychic Eye, there were a lot of new people doing psychic work at that time even. And there were people that had channeling can be different things. There were people that had a being that was on the other side, and they were giving them the information.
Mm-hmm.
They would go to the being, so they called that channeling. They didn't really channel; they were getting the information. The being was channeling to them. Whoever their source was channeling to them and answering questions. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then you have channeling that is the medium channeling, where actually. One of my good friends, Ronna Hermans, who's, she's channeled for Michael, Archangel Michael, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, but anyway, she actually leaves her body, or she doesn't leave the body, she goes somewhere inside herself in the astral plane. And then this force comes through her, and she channels the information that whatever he's going to say. A good friend of mine was Fred Sterling, who also was a well-known channel. And he said he used to go to like an island, and he'd wait, while the channel came through and so on. There's a lot of people who do channeling. They're channel mediums, and channeling, they channel a being, or they channel, a source. There's a lot of people that are doing this and very good at it.
Okay.
And just, you're only as good as your source.
Right. So
then there's people like me that I call it channeling, because I don't feel a separation between my high self and and myself. So I don't always do a channeling of another energy. My high self and I will ask another high self, or if there's a death or there's some kind of situation. If people ask me, Nancy, can you pick up on my grandparent? Can you pick up on my ex-husband, or can you pick up on this who's passed, or someone I love who passed? And I can medium. Yes, if they talk to me, I can hear them, but it would be like us talking right now.
Right, exactly that. Absolutely, I understand. We were talking about it yesterday. This person I met at our show most recently from Sunday, and he was saying, to me it feels like psychic ability is receiving a message from, whether, when psychic mediumship, you're receiving a message from grandpa, let's say grandpa, right? And I said, I never feel like grandpa comes into my body to give me a message. I always feel like some loving energy is coming to me, telling me what grandpa says.
Yeah.
So
there's different kinds of channeling. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You're not taking them into your body, but you're listening. You can hear them give you the answers on the other side.
Exactly.
I used to, well, I still do. I had people, when somebody asked me a question like, can you my sister passed away, and can you pick up a message from them? Or it could be a parent. A lot of times it's a parent, somebody, or a grandparent that raised them or something. And I always ask the being on the other side, will you please give me a piece of information that I would have no way of knowing? It doesn't have to be life-threatening or anything big, but something that would be unique to this person, so they know it's you.
Yeah.
And because I do that, and I get it, I mean, they'll give me something, and it may be like a red wagon. They may show me a red wagon, and you would sit there and go, "What does that have to do with anything?" But when I mentioned a red wagon, they said, "Yes, my grandmother used to take me a ride in the red wagon." You know, I mean, I'm just using that as an example. There's all kinds of different things I've seen, and you know, that people give me a piece of information on the other side, so that they know I'm connected, or we're a legitimate connection on this side.
Right, and that does make me feel good to be able to provide. Now, can you explain the quantum field? So, what's the difference between the quantum field and the astral plane? Nothing. So, why are there two different names for it?
Well, the quantum field has to do with the different dimensions and things that happen. I mean, I think of them being, the quantum field is that you can go to the quantum field is everything is one. Everybody is one. We're all unity. Okay. And the quantum field is when you go investigate a quantum aspect of something, and you get information, or you can use the quantum field. Like, for instance, if we are simultaneously doing this podcast, you know, there's many versions of the same thing. If there's more than one version of it, the quantum field would be that whatever versions there are of this, if there were, they would be in a quantum field. And then you can go, and if you had, I think that's, to be honest, I think when I had polio, I think that's the way it got taken out, was I think I just went to a Nancy's quantum field that didn't have polio. That's actually what I was just going to ask you. I didn't know that at the time, but now that I know more about quantum fields, you can go to a quantum field. And there's a gentleman, I just stopped and know my sentence, I know, but there was a gentleman that's well known, and he wanted to learn to play the piano, so he went to a quantum field of himself that was a very famous pianist. And he came back and he played like that, or it could be an artist. You know, I think we do quantum jumping all the time. Absolutely. I think a lot of times when we have a big change or something happens, and all of a sudden an aha moment comes in, and we before we couldn't do it, and now we're doing it, you know, we're doing something else that's more incredible, and or, you know, we're doing it, we're achieving it. I think a lot of those are quantum jumps. I agree with you. And same thing, you know, manifesting intentions, you know, when we get our mind right, we get solution oriented, we get out of the problem mind or the stress mind and into solutions. That's when I think we do our best quantum jumping, because we're not having any resistance to moving into a new frame. Yeah, and that all comes together, you know. People can do quantum, a lot of times they just seem to happen because we desire it and we jump. You know, we sort of subconsciously jump. Right. Our subconscious mind is astral plane. So we jump. And but I think a lot of people also can do it on purpose, you know, with an intent. I want to meditate, and I want to go to a space where Nancy, I'm using this just as an example, where Nancy is whatever. Right. You know, whatever it is. And I will see that part of me that has that situation. Could be for healing, could be for whatever it might be. And has that version of my answer. And then I bring it back with me. Right. So can you explain the bringing it back part? Because we'll say there's a Teresa in a quantum field that has no neck injury. Now I want to make it a point to go to that quantum field. So I go to the quantum field where that exists. Now, how do I bring that version back with me here? Bringing it back has to be stronger, knowing that you can bring it back, knowing that you're not going to hurt whoever has got the other version of it, that it can multiply more than one, you know, that they're just demonstrating what you want. By knowing that and knowing it is different than believing, well, I'm not sure if that's going to work. I think all this stuff has to do with how strong is my thought system and which side of the fence is it on. Am I stronger when you have a neck problem, or you have any kind of illness, or people that have cancer especially, or because you have to go and get treatments, and that reminds you every day what you're going through, then you get sick, and then and the radiation or not, or chemo,
right,
that's not an easy situation. So
right.
you have to it requires having a person who is capable of if you believe, no matter whether it's the radiation radiation did not start here. Radiation was in the quantum and was in the astral plane. I mean, we got to get used to radiation because we're going through a photon belt. But nevertheless, that's another story. But nevertheless, if I can believe in the healing being stronger than the disease, then the strongest thought wins.
Right, right.
And if it takes chemo, if it takes radiation, if it takes going under a red light or whatever the case might be, and that makes me feel it's stronger, and that gives me faith that's stronger, and I'm using that as a thing I can see, and I'm going to be stronger with that, and I'm getting. Nevertheless, the thought that I am healed is the one that wins out. Okay. No matter how I got there, that's the one that wins out. If I don't believe that I can be healed, and I believe that this is too serious and I'm too sick and so on, which is, a hard thing. I mean, that people go through that. But if I believe in the disease being stronger than I am healed, then I'm going to be healed. Then whatever the thought is, the thought's going to win.
Right. And
whatever the strength of I should say it this way, whatever the strength of the thought, whatever has the hardest or the most strong, and force of vibration. We're magnets. We are magnets. So if I'm magnet, if let's say someone has a cold and they come to visit me, and I have the belief system I can catch that cold from that person,
right?
Which I don't do. I don't believe that at all. Then I'm probably going to catch a cold from them. I'm going to blame them for the cold. There's people that have that happen. They have kids, they get sick, the kids get sick, and everyone else gets the virus down, or the bacteria virus, or whatever it is, down the line. Or you are on the plane and you get things. Yes, these things happen, but they didn't start in that plane. They started in the astral plane.
Agreed. I understand that. I have another. Okay, so there's multiple questions here for every word.
Yeah,
okay, so I don't know how you want this to be, but I feel like this all kind of fits together in the same genre. We have dreams. We have prophetic dreams that we get an answer in our sleep. We have nightmares, and we have night terrors. So I don't know where you want to start, but I feel like that's kind of in the same genre. Can you explain those things?
Well, the night terrors are going to be traveling in the lower level of the astral plane, and all it takes, I shouldn't say all it takes. Most people go to sleep, and they just go to sleep, and they don't really define. Or maybe when we're in the daytime, or we're not tired, maybe we meditate, and I refuse to be in that lower astral plane during my sleep. You program what you want.
Yes, you taught me that.
So you end up programming what you want, and the dreams are, a lot of times dreams have to do with the subconscious mind and things that are hidden, the person's not aware of. And they have prolific dreams because they become aware of whatever was missing. And it could be a past life, it could be a timeline, it could be any number of things. It could be a quantum area, but dreams are from the astral plane, and you can lucid dream where you program your dream. Dreams can tell you something that is going to happen in the future as well, because it's the astral plane, and it can also be a time where you program yourself for healing. Sleep is very, very important, because we spend the time in the astral plane, and we always spend the time in the astral plane. We just don't know it. We don't remember. Oh yeah, I'm astral. I'm not, I'm an astral being. When I leave here, I'm not the same in that physical body that I was in the physical body here.
Right, right. Actually, so I know you're familiar with QHHT, but it's quantum healing hypnosis technique. And I went to go get a treatment, and this was where I actually learned about the quantum field. But I start going through this session, and I start seeing this light like a couple minutes after she starts. And I'm like, she goes, relax. She's taking me down into the meditation to get to the somatic state so that I can have the experience of the QHHT. So this light comes on, and the whole time I'm in QHHT, I think it's her bedroom light, and I wish she would turn the light off so that I can focus. So I'm going through everything, and I'm trying my best to focus on the experience and answer her questions and tell her what I'm seeing while I'm there. And I'm going, in my head, I'm saying to myself, I wish she would just turn her bedroom light off because it's so distracting. I'm just trying to see all of this so clearly. And at the end, I come out of the somatic state and I sit, sit up. And she said, "How was your experience? How was your time?" I said, "Everything was great, except for that bedroom light that you had on the whole time. That was really distracting for me." She goes, "I don't have a bedroom light." I go, "Yeah, you do. It's the one on the ceiling." And there was no light. There was never any light. The light that I kept seeing was the light in the quantum field. Yeah. So I was being annoyed about what I wanted to see.
But because again, please forgive me the way I'm saying this, especially on the air, but that's a control issue.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 110%. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be a control issue. I just had someone I worked with too, and I set up the hypnosis to do a finger would signal them, and he had a whole different questions would have a different finger. He would have like a feeling in one finger, then he'd have one that did move, and then he'd have another one, do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really interesting because, fingers all have different meanings.
Right, exactly, yep.
So the subconscious was giving me the meanings, or giving him the meanings of this, it's all for him. The different meanings by using different fingers. Usually you have one finger that wants to react, but that's not a law. Nothing is get rid of old ways of everything happens the same way because it doesn't happen that way. Absolutely. We are in new territory and things are, but I just thought it was so interesting that the fingers have different meanings and his fingers would answer, different fingers would answer the question appropriately to the meaning. It was so interesting.
I want to say that experience was like close to like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I was definitely in the thick of control issues at that point, and even in that state. But it's
not unusual to do that.
No. Yeah. What it taught me, though, was how
we think we have to do that.
Right. It taught me to be releasing. It taught me to surrender going through the experience.
What other questions?
Okay, so my next question is, the other night I saw a drone go by my house. I live on Long Island, so I saw one of the new drones. So I wanted to know about how drones relate to the ancestral plane, the astral plane.
Well, everything starts in the astral plane.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they're being programmed to do, the invention of the drone was probably invented way before Earth.
Denise says, so did I.
But whatever, let's say, whatever is going on, whatever programming they're doing on this level, or let's say it's not this level, let's say there's another race or some other space or beings or whatever doing the drones. I don't know. I mean, we're going to see a lot of things we haven't seen before. I mean, I've seen, but most people haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things are going to be visible because we think of the astral plane being the unseen. It's not going to be so unseen as it were before when the veil was there.
Right, right.
So, I don't know. The drones, what are they doing? That's a good question. I find it hard to believe that someone doesn't know what they're doing.
I agree with that. So, like, in my experience, this was last week, and I meant to call you about it and get your input. So I was delivering flyers for the show that we had on Sunday, and when I walked down the street, I got a weird feeling, and I started, chanting, And then I put the flyer in the box, and because there was like a street light above the mailbox, on the ground, I saw something fly over my head, and it was wide, like a wide something. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm leaving. And I walked up the block a little bit to get in by the next house, and I see this white oval whiz by, and I'm like, what is that? That's not a trash bag. It's not. And then I'm like, I come home and I tell Chris, I'm like, I saw something weird while I was out. And
yeah. And I think people are.
Yeah, and then I saw that they're on the computer that they started talking about, new drones on Long Island, and they look like white ovals, and I was like, oh, I saw a drone now I know what I saw, but why is it happening? Or like, what's the cause?
That's something you can go in and meditate on and see if you get an answer, since it made it available to you to see.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the answer of why you have every right to know why that drone went over your head, or, was involved with you, to witness.
Right.
Nothing else.
Right.
So I think you have every right. I think people have every right to know the answer to these things. So I would, if it were me, I would probably be looking at the meditation side of it.
Absolutely. And then my next question is solar flares. As we're moving through this astral plane, or becoming more cognizant of the astral plane, how are solar flares impacting, is it, because I know the solar flare, it has been impacting Earth a lot, creating cause and effect of things. And now as we're entering into a more, I'd say, thinner veil, or more energy-based way of living, how do you see these two things interacting?
Well, the solar flares are, we think that suns are what we've been taught that we think they are. But there's a part of the sun that you can actually travel through, and there are many, many suns, and when they are letting go of, our poles, the magnetic aspects are changing, and the sun is part of that change, making that change, so that magnetically our Earth is changing. I mean, our whole universe and galaxy is changing. So we're going to go through a photon belt, so that may have something to do with the solar flares too, but everything is changing. So this we're traveling, the Earth travels very, very fast, and it rotates and travels very fast, and we don't even know it.
Right. I was wondering, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say to you, I thought it was unique that at a time with so much change, energetically, astrologically, that these solar flares started happening so much more.
Yeah, a lot of things are going to happen more. Again, the portals are opening. The magnet, changes the magnetizing. It changes vibration. It changes a lot of things. And I think some of the solar flares could be what people would think of as a nuisance. And then sometimes they can be something that helps. But nevertheless, that's why we need to learn how to be calm. If you sat in a room, or, if you sat in a room, and I believe in practicing. If I need a skill, I believe in practicing it before I need the skill, actually use the skill. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one method can be, if you sat in your room and you have a room where you're meditating, and everything that's in that room, look and see if you can imagine another room that's right beside it with every same thing that you have in your room. In other words, it just transposed itself to another room. Okay. That's exactly the way we have to think about the astral plane. It's if we're going to manifest abundance. Now, the problem with the astral plane being the manufacturer of everything that's here is it's unlimited. So then I have to have an open mind that I may not know how this is going to happen. I just know it is. Right. Yeah. And that makes it hard. But if you practice, there's different ways to practice. And when you practice, everything I'm sitting in my office, everything I'm seeing, everything here, can I transport it over to the room beside me?
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's the same thing, because that's what we're doing to Earth. What we're seeing in the astral plane, and what people can in their mind, what you do is whatever you want, you've got to really focus on it and don't lose the focus.
Right.
Just keep the focus, keep the thought, keep the thought, keep the focus. Just keep the thought, keep the focus, keep it. If you want to be, when you need calmness under any circumstance, like drones driving over your head, UFOs landing in your backyard.
I'm waiting for it. I'm totally waiting for it.
I had big X's on top of your roof. I already had those.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another story. But anyway, but when you have, it's the astral plane that is where everything here has been, it's in the astral plane first.
Right.
Then it comes to Earth.
Right.
Just like a birth of a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a birth. And so a birth of an animal, a birth. And so, there are going to be changes. There's a lot of things. I need to be calm, so I need to meditate. I need to practice. I need to, remember when I taught, you probably remember when I taught, if you turn into anything that is light is not going to have form.
Right.
Or when, if you have a car coming at you and it's going to be in an accident, if you had seen it instead of it coming from your back, if you knew it had been there, if you had lit up in light and you put them in light, there would be no accident.
Right.
Because there's no form.
Right, you're formless. You transmute it into formlessness.
But you didn't have a chance. You didn't have a chance to, because you didn't see it in your rear mirror. You didn't have a chance to do that. But it happens that way. If a car's coming, I'm all light. My vehicle's light. Then I turn them into light, and the vehicle's in light. It will go literally spiraling around you.
Right.
And it's happened over and over again to people I've taught this to. So, but again, you have to. I think it takes practice to think you can even make everything. If you have something in front of you, can you just see it in light and not the form that it is? I mean, you can practice these things, and I don't think waiting till the car's coming at me is the time to practice. It's the time to be doing it.
Right, absolutely. Actually, one of the students that you have, told me the story about she was driving.
It happened to her, and it went. I've had it happen a number of times too, but anyway, my point is practicing, being able to manipulate the astral plane energy, the vibrations and so on, and understand we're magnets and bring it to you.
Okay,
is the name of the game.
No, you said earlier, when I had asked you about the healing technique of going into a quantum field where there was another version of you, as long as it doesn't disrupt that version of you to take that aspect of you or that version of you back. Can you help me understand that a little bit better? How would I know if it was?
Well, I don't think we were meant to be sick.
Right.
And I don't think we were meant to keep, when things happen like that, maybe the lesson, once I caught the lesson, why did I have the accident, whatever. But I don't think we were meant to keep it. But the healing, all healing is done in the astral plane.
Okay.
Now, I don't care if it's a vitamin. I don't care if it's medicine. I don't care if it's surgery. This is why people call me before they go into surgery. If they're smart, they do this. They don't have to call me, but do something similar. And that is when you program no bleeding, no excess swelling, no pain, no this or that, time after time and time, that's the way it works.
Right, of course. Absolutely.
Because I'm going to the astral plane and I'm telling the body, you don't have to go through this.
Right.
And I had one person this was a while back, but she was having a hysterectomy. And I had programmed, it was going to be, for the doctor, this was going to be one of the easiest, the surgeon, this was going to be one of the easiest surgeries he's ever done. It's almost like it's going to jump out at him. He went back to her during the, when she got out of surgery, and he said that I can't even tell you how easy this surgery was.
Yes.
It almost jumped in my hands.
We did that when my dad had cancer last year or the year before. You and I did this work, so I can vouch for it.
It's a great thing to do. I mean, it's the body, when it knows, and it is run by the astral plane. It's stronger. The astral plane is stronger than everything.
The cool part was being the experiencer, that the verbiage we used in programming it, saying, you know, it's all in one spot, it's going to come easy out of the body, you know, all that. When the surgeon got out of surgery from my dad, the exact words that we programmed on the astral field were the exact words that the surgeon said to me, that, you know, for the removal of it, and it was all in one spot. It came out so easy.
We need to understand too. I mean, you understand and I understand, but we need to make it clear too. It was your dad who accepted the suggestions that made that work.
So there's a couple questions here now. So earlier, Val was talking about her husband experiencing pneumonia, and this is his second time, and she's been going through the process with him using the tools that you know, that she knows or that we've given on this podcast. So she's asking now, is it possible to astral plane healing for another person, or how can she help to facilitate her husband's healing?
She already has everything it takes to do the healing.
Okay.
But I think, again, does she feel funny that she might do something that doesn't work, or something that would harm him? I mean, does she have any fear around it, I wonder?
Val?
Here's what you've heard me teach this when I did teaching of healing. One of the first things I believe people should do that do healing is, the first thing is you do a prayer. You do a prayer of healing for yourself.
Correct.
So that you can be effective.
Correct.
And also, it doesn't hurt to have some idea what the metaphysical reasoning is for different diseases, or different, different things have meanings, right?
Correct.
I mean, like if you have an eye problem and you're afraid of seeing something, if you have an ear problem, you don't want to hear something, Louise Hayes has a great job. She's done a great job in letting people know what those connections are. But with pneumonia, usually respiratory things have to do with my right to breathe. And so I think she can do everything that needs to be done. If he's had it, I think she could do her homework before she does. I don't know what kind of healing she's doing, but she could do her homework first. What do I need to do to make astral plane? What do I need to do to bring you here and have complete healing for him? Okay. Like for instance, when I did a lot of the healing stuff, it never occurred to me it wasn't going to work. Never entered my mind that whoever I was working on, and they could feel it in Afghanistan, they could feel it in Iran, soldiers and stuff, they could actually tell what I was doing. They could feel it.
Absolutely. I can vouch for that 100%.
I think it takes practice. I think it takes some understanding, learning and understanding, but you shouldn't have to do any of that, because the universe, the astral plane knows exactly how to heal him. Right. And I don't think it depends on. Sometimes it can be fearful. It's hard because you want it so badly. You want to help so badly. I don't mean her, but sometimes it's just not easy to believe that you can help and minister the healing. But healing to me is always an offering. Correct. All I can do with someone is offer it. When I made that suggestion about the uterus, that whole thing was an offering. So the husband also is a big part of the answer to this. And there's nothing fun about pneumonia. No. So whatever it takes for him to be at peace and harmony and well-being, I just did a bunch of things on people that had cysts, and cysts on their kidneys was water, right? I mean, But I found that the problem was in a past life, he had been poisoned.
Ooh, okay.
That caused that in this lifetime, there was no reason for him to have the cysts on his, whatever activated cysts in this lifetime had to do with something that happened in another time zone.
Okay.
So she might want to consider that as well.
So just to insert here, the prayer, I ask the high self of my, we'll say my husband, the high self of my husband to do something nice for him, or husband's high self do that which is for his best and highest good in the fifth dimension and above. As simple as these are, they're incredibly effective.
Yeah, because all healing comes from an area of the astral plane that already knows how to do the healing.
Correct. Yes. I mean, it's
amazing. It's amazing. Healing to me is balance. It's something that's out of balance. You bring it into balance.
That's right.
And if you are the one who's calling in the healing, in other words, you're the one who's helping them or assisting them bring in something that their body's going to do, and they're going to, if they accept it, they're going to be the one who does the healing. I mean, they really are the healing person. So, but if I'm, that's why I do a prayer. I do a prayer to have me healed first, or have me get the information how to do, how to assist here. What's the best way for me to assist? Like with Norm, my friend Norm, that was a race car driver. He went through open heart surgery, and they didn't want to do the surgery because of his heart being so weak. And so I went in and I worked in hypnosis with him and said, in the racing, his heart was used to, stress.
That's right. That's right.
So then that was just sort of the theme of what I programmed. And then the doctor came out and told his daughters and myself that after he said that was the strongest wrist heart I've ever worked on.
Aw, that's awesome.
Because if you can find some kind of link, the idea came to me from the astral plane, came to me. He's a race car driver. He's faced death, he faced that kind of stuff all the time. His heart's not going to fail on this. So, and he bought into it because he knew I was right. I mean, he believed that because he knew what he had to face as a race car driver, that this is nothing compared to what he faced in the car.
Right. So I just want to go ahead. Sorry.
It just depends. You getting advice from the higher astral plane is a wonderful thing.
I agree with you. I just feel like I still want clarity on if I go to another piece of the astral plane to, like, say there's another quantum me walking around living some life that and I use my neck injury as an example. If I want that version of Teresa that has no neck injury, then how do I know if I would disrupt that versions of me life?
You can't.
Right. So how do I bring it back?
Not if you say the highest good. A neck injury has to do with the conflict between your head and heart. So if you go to someone else, you're not going to another person you're not giving them your neck injury. They don't have a neck injury. So you're just bringing whatever their neck health is back to you.
Right. But that's not me disrupting that version of me. That's just me saying I'm bringing back the well-being of my neck.
I don't know that you can, I think that you ask for the highest good. But why not just go to the astral plane? You can quantum jump too. I mean, if that's what you want to do. But you can also ask for, let me have the quantum time of that will be the highest good for me and for all of me.
Okay. Now my other question.
I believe in asking for what you want.
Right.
Ask for the solution. So what you want is everybody to be okay.
Right.
So if you do a quantum jump, you don't want to have any consequences for either side or anybody there. So ask for it to be in the highest level for everybody involved, all of you, the whole of you,
That helps me understand. So you're programming that when you do make that quantum leap, that every version of you is in the highest form, so that there is no, I got it. Okay.
Right. You're going to the higher levels.
Yeah. So then my other side of that is that
remember too, the high level of the heavens, the higher levels are unity.
Right.
They're not separation.
Right.
And what you just spoke on was separation. You were saying, well, how do I know if I get this, I'm not making some kind of problem over here? And I think we get that because we see movies where, they time travel and, they change time and so on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think we get some of these ideas from that. But in this case, I think I would just think of it being a win-win for everybody. Thank you. Why not do a thank you, be gratitude. Thank you for that quantum side of me that is bringing that wellness to my neck.
Ah, that's a good one. I like that one. My other question too is I have a friend who just had neck surgery, right? Which is a little bit different than what I'm experiencing, and had to get a metal rod put in their neck. So, and he was talking about like how he used to be a professional dancer. So now someone like that who has a different type, this still works for him, or how does this still work for him?
There's an answer, a solution to everything.
Every
problem has a solution.
Yes.
I had one of the people, a good friend of mine, she had a rod put in, and we had it work totally in sync with her and everything she did.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been good to heal it before the rod got put in, but that's not always the case.
Understood. Absolutely. That makes sense. Okay.
All right.
And then astral projection. Can you explain astral projection?
It's when you leave the body,
mm-hmm.
and you are in your astral body, and you are not, you're in the astral plane, so you're not subject to the earth vibrations. You're not held by earth law.
Got it. Okay.
You're in the astral plane, and it doesn't have laws like that. It doesn't have limitations. It doesn't have gravity. It doesn't have things like that.
Got it. Okay. And then I think the last question that I personally have is you were saying earlier, we have a lower astral plane, a higher astral plane, and in the middle astral plane, do they ever touch, or no, because one energy is denser than another? Like,
I don't understand the question.
Like, is there oneness? Like, so we have like the higher astral plane.
The oneness is always on the higher level.
Right. And then on the lower level, there is no oneness. On the
lower level, once you have the higher level, the lower level disappears.
Ah, okay.
The light has to bend, the dark has to bend to the light in this Aquarian age, in this time period.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. So the law is light will always have the power.
Got it.
Always.
Got it.
So whatever that power is, meaning if I know or don't know, I'm asking it to have, come and be a solution and an answer. I cannot come to the higher levels with problems. It doesn't recognize them. So what I have to do is word it such. Thank you again. I'm so grateful, and thank you for allowing me, my neck to have the vibration of wellness and healing.
Mm-hmm.
And when light is there, the dark can't be there.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, does anybody have any questions for Nancy as we come to the end of our episode 20? I'm just going to give everyone a minute to kind of write an answer if they so choose to. And I think that we nailed everything, Nance. Thank you so much for...
Well, at least it's a start.
Well, yeah, all the questions that we had, we answered the questions on the table at this moment. There's always going to be more questions.
Okay, there's one more thing. Just one more thing.
Okay.
Light is eternal. Where these negative problems are finite, and they're going to disappear. So all the politics, all the stuff that we see going on, anything that could rattle us and so on that's going on in this world, it's not going to stay the way it is. It's not eternal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to suffer worrying about, I just add light, just add prayers, light, or whatever you're guided to do. And, but keep your focus on the answer, and just keep it focused on the answer. Keep focused on the answer. And that takes practice.
Right. So there's two things that I want to add into what you're saying, but Val also just said, I don't have any questions, just a heartfelt thank you to you ladies. So sweet. We love you, Val. The one thing was that earlier we were talking about seeing the signs of the manifestation at work, or how the astral plane is delivering. One thing I learned that's super important with manifestation is that Florence Scovel Shinn teaches birds and twigs, meaning that when people write out their manifestation, what this is what I'm wanting, I'm deserving and worthy, here's the step. When everything is written down and set, then they kind of don't know what to do with themselves. So she says, look for birds and twigs, meaning that mariners long time ago, they didn't have the technology that they have now. They would know that they were getting close to land because they would see land birds and twigs.
Right,
the thing with you want is the land.
See the symptoms of
you see the signs of what you want coming to fruition, rather than focusing or seeing the signs of what you want not coming to fruition. You look every day.
Please bring in my real, you can do the real again.
Mm-hmm.
The real. Please bring in my real abundance.
I love that.
You ask for real people. Please bring in my husband's real healed self.
Yeah.
That's another way, because that automatically takes you to the higher astral plane.
I love that. That's a really great place to, square off for this episode. So I'm grateful. Those are beautiful things. Thank you so much, everyone who decided to, hang out with us tonight and watch and ask questions and have this experience with us. It was a pleasure as usual. And we will see you next Thursday at 9 p.m. Everybody have a great night.
I won't be here on Thursday. I'll be in Missouri.
Oh, okay. The day after Christmas?
Yeah. I'll be in Missouri until the 27th. I come back the 27th.
Oh, okay.
28th.
All right. Well, I'll have to put up a flyer for the new date, and we can work it out when the best time is.
Or you can do your wonderful thing too. So
that's true.
Anyway, but I won't make next Thursday.
Okay. Well, I will put a flyer up for the next time we have an episode, and we'll work it out with everyone.
Bye, everybody.
That is the other thing too. It is the 19th. Our whatever day that we choose for next week will be next week. And until then, happy Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy holidays all around to everyone. So I hope you all have great holidays, and I'm always accessible if you want to shoot over a message or a call. And thank you very much for participating in this with us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.